So, whatever happened to that super cool, incredibly entertaining, yet unbelievably tragic 1971 film Escape from the Planet of the Apes? Let's find out. Movies,
Music and monsters. Danger.
Hey my friends, Dan Monroe here talking about movies, music, and monsters. Oh boy, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, definitely the very first movie series I remember being so infatuated with as a kid, mainly because that's what my older brother was into, and as you all know, we younger brothers tend to like what our older brothers like. I obviously never saw this on its initial release, being that I was only 3 at the time, but I certainly saw it plenty of times in my very young years, sadly to the absolute disappointment of my mom, who would literally forbid me to watch those terrible movies with those filthy monkey people, even though my older brother was allowed to watch it, which never really made much sense to me. However, that being said, the very first Apes movie that I remember seeing when I was extremely young was not Escape, but Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Yes, I saw that one even before I saw the 1968 original, and I was so blown away, no pun intended, by the talking apes, the super cool gorilla general with the nifty hat, and the giant bomb at the end of the film that blew up the entire planet. Whew, I just couldn't get enough of those apes. I literally went ape crazy, collecting everything I could find, including the board game, the bubblegum cards, and of course the incredible Mego playsets and figures. So, grab your spaceship, your banana, and your bubbly soaking bathtub with a bucket of stale popcorn, and let's dive in. I would like me some grape juice plus. Now, for those of you who have never seen Escape from the Planet of the Apes, it's the third in a series of 5 original Apes movies, which began in 1968 with Planet of the Apes, followed by Beneath in 1970, this film, Escape in 71, Conquest in 72, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes in 1973, after escaping the nuclear holocaust set off at the end of the previous film by the Alpha Omega bomb, Cornelius Zira, and a brilliant ape scientist named Dr. Milo escape the planet in Taylor's ship and ended up back on modern-day Earth, well, modern-day 1973, that is, where the apes are initially feared, then loved, then feared again. I have a question. Yes, what is it, robot? Exactly whose ship did they leave the planet in? Well, according to Cornelius, it was Dr. Milo who found the ship, somehow got it off the bottom of the lake, repaired it, half understood it, and somehow got it to, I know it sounds ridiculous, take off from the planet and hit the time warp that got them back to Earth. You expect me to buy this? You do realize this is an entire franchise based on talking apes? Good point. Please continue. Now, even though the ending of Beneath the Planet of the Apes was absolutely designed to put an end to the franchise right there and then, well, it, made money, so 20th Century Fox wanted another sequel. Somehow, so Arthur P. Jacobs, the man responsible for producing the prior 2 Apes movies, sent the screenwriter of Beneath, Paul Dane, a telegram that simply read, and I quote, "Apes exist, sequel required." But didn't Beneath the Planet of the Apes make significantly less than the original film? Well, yes, it did, but you know how these studio executives work. Take something that was great, and rather than just leave it alone to become a timeless classic, You grab it and continue to squeeze it until every single drop of cash can possibly be drained from it, leaving you with nothing but an empty husk of what was once a great cinematic masterpiece.
Would you like me to get you a drink?
No, I'm fine. Anyway, Paul Dane got to work on the sequel, originally titled Secret of the Planet of the Apes, trying to figure out ways to not only move the story forward, but the production budget backwards. He even contacted Pierre Boulle, the guy who wrote the book, Planet of the Apes, back in 1963, looking for inspiration and satirical elements, even admittedly adding in references to religious overtones in regards to the story of Jesus, where the son of Zira and Cornelius was being hunted down by man and killed, and there's even a line of dialogue that has the president comparing the plan to kill an unborn child to the massacre of the innocents, which came from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 16 through 18, I believe, where Herod the Great, king of Judea, orders the execution of all male children who are 2 years old and under in the vicinity of Bethlehem in attempt to kill the Christ child.
Wow, really? I thought this was just another good old story about those damn dirty apes.
See what you learn when you pay attention. Anyway, even though Kim Hunter, who played Zira, had to be really convinced by the studio to make Beneath the Planet of the Apes, she really liked this script for Escape and accepted the job almost immediately, even though she's also been quoted as saying that she was very glad that her character was killed off and Zira was no longer required in any more Apes films after that. As you know, or maybe you didn't, I don't know, Roddy McDowall did not reprise his role of Cornelius in Beneath the Planet of the Apes due to scheduling conflicts with his career, but this time he was not only right on board, but extremely enthusiastic about getting back into his beloved ape character for this new production, which began filming in November 1970 and ended only 6 short weeks later in January 1971, production being extremely rushed due to the fact that, unfortunately, this third entry into the Apes saga had an extremely low budget. But if you think about it, at least in comparison to the previous 2 Apes films, the budget didn't really need to be as high. It was taking place in modern-day Los Angeles. There were only 2 actors that required ape makeup. Well, 3, I guess, if you consider Dr. Milo for the 5 minutes he was in the film. Less costumes, less makeup people needed on set, no need whatsoever to build any new sets. The spaceship at the beginning of the film was the same one they used in the previous films, and the giant freighter at the end of the movie was actually just a giant freighter that they got permission to film on at the Los Angeles Harbor in San Pedro, California. You know, the older I get, the more I realize that it's the little things in life that really make all the difference. I mean, yeah, collecting the toys and the movies are great, but there's nothing quite like, I don't know, hanging out with an old friend, a pat on the back from your kid, or better yet, a smile from your wife or your mom. And you know, Mother's Day is coming up, and whether it's your mom or your wife, who happens to be a mom, what better way to celebrate than, of course, giving her a call, but also giving her endless family memories with an Aura digital picture frame. Now, you guys know me, and I never promote something on this channel that I don't use on a daily basis, but I personally have an Aura Carver matte frame right on my desk. My wife has one as well. Super fun to flip through the photos and the wonderful memories, and trust me, guys, this is nothing like the old digital frames of the past. It's super easy to use, super easy to set up, and this is the best part. If you have a loved one that doesn't live near you, you send them one of these frames and you can literally add photos from your phone transferred right to their frame anywhere in the world. Super fun. Super cool. And what better time than with Mother's Day right around the corner? For a limited time, you guys can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver mat frame. That's Aura Frames, A-U-R-A Frames. Again, simply use promo code Dan to get $35 off this super cool, super special Mother's Day gift. And now, back to the show. Kind of interesting, both Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter claimed that they felt a bit uneasy on set, isolated almost for being the only two people dressed as chimpanzees. And to make matters worse, Kim Hunter remembered that the filming crew, while filming the original Planet of the Apes, would literally show up in the morning with bananas for the actors, something that Miss Hunter really began to resent and referenced perfectly in her first line in this film, "Because I loathe bananas." Fun fact, this movie marked the first time any actor or actress, Kim Hunter in this case, played an ape character 3 films in a row in the original Planet of the Apes series, even though both Roddy McDowall and Natalie Trundy are the only cast members to appear in 4 of the 5 original Planet of the Apes movies.
In Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston had destroyed the world with the Doomsday Bomb. Now, where else could the story go? Where else indeed? The first 2 Apes movies told the story of contemporary men dropped into a frightening world where intelligent chimpanzees ruled. The situation is reversed as the intelligent apes travel back through time to a contemporary, well, 1973 United States, where humans still rule and mankind isn't quite ready for the glimpse into the future offered by our chimpanzee friends.
They weren't masks, they were appliances. I think 3, 4 different kinds of glue for different reasons. I mean, certainly around the mouth, it had to be flexible enough to allow our mouths to function underneath. I'd have to get to the studio, say 4 o'clock in the morning, in order to be ready to shoot at 8. And then, say we'd finish shooting at 7 o'clock at night, I wouldn't get home until 9 at least.
The cast of this film was really pretty awesome, with obviously McDowall and Hunter in the lead roles, but also Bradford Dillman as Dr. Lewis Dixon, Natalie Trundy, Arthur P. Jacobs' wife as Dr. Branton, William Wyndham as the President of the United States, Sal Mineo as Dr. Milo, who, by the way, absolutely freaking hated being in the makeup, felt horribly claustrophobic, absolutely despised the entire process, and was glad he got killed off early. Albert Selmy as, I don't know, some guy who interrogates Zira. Super cool actor, played one of my favorite characters on Lost in Space, Captain Tucker, and the incredibly talented Eric Braeden as Dr. Otto Hasslein.
Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter, I felt very sorry for them because they had to be in the makeup room at 3 in the morning. And they did that every day with enormous discipline. They sat in the makeup chair for 5, 6 hours. And Don Taylor directed it. He was a former actor. Very nice man. I think actors make good directors. Did I like the part? No, not really. It was again sort of a caricature, you know.
Hey, wait a minute. That looks like Dr. Forbin, the guy who built the Colossus supercomputer.
Psh, keep it down, will ya? Why do you think Dr. Hasslein, under the disguise of Dr. Forbin, even built Colossus to destroy the apes? What? It's possible.
You've been smoking the wacky tobacco.
Anyway, Dr. Hasslein was such a cool character. I mean, despite the fact that he wanted to kill the apes, you have to remember that most of the time, villains in a story don't really realize that they're doing something evil. To them, they're doing exactly the right thing, which in essence was the right thing to do had he been allowed to kill Zira's unborn child and prevent them from having another. Then there would be no Planet of the Apes in the future, but that's just not the way it went down. In fact, it all went down in the end pretty darn poorly.
Everybody dies. Again.
Yeah, pretty much. But this is really cool. In the original script, there was a scene at the very beginning of the film before the apes crash-landed back on Earth where the aponauts in flight suits were actually seen observing the destruction of the Earth through the front viewport of the ship. This scene was absolutely filmed. We know this because they built a very elaborate set of the interior of the cockpit with 3 seats specifically for the unused opening of this movie, but it wasn't a complete loss. They got to use this set again in the opening scenes of the 1974 TV series. There are some really cool pictures, as you can see, of the actors filming this scene, but sadly, we've never seen any of the actual raw footage from that sequence. Speaking of unused scenes in the script, there originally was also a scene of Zira mistaking a toothbrush for a hairbrush and a sequence with Cornelius and Louis playing golf, but unfortunately none of the scenes were ever used in the final version of the film. Fun, unfortunate fact, while they were filming the full-size spaceship in the ocean at the beginning of the movie, at one point the tow cable broke, sending the ship crashing into a bunch of rocks, which really heavily damaged the front of the ship. Kind of interesting. For all the scenes of Armando's traveling circus, the wagons and animal cages were actually located on a golf course just across the street from 20th Century Fox Studios. The music in the film was pretty good, even though whenever I watch this movie, it takes me out of it just a little bit. It's so freaking groovy and 70s sounding. You know, I often wonder if maybe, just maybe, mind you, the movie would have aged a little bit better had they used a more traditional cinematic score rather than the far-out musical style of the 1970s, but who knows? Super fun. When my brother Paul and I visited the Los Angeles area last year, we went to the exact same beach used to film the opening sequence of the ship. Super cool memories, which we are going to absolutely repeat this coming October when we return to Los Angeles once again to just, I don't know, run around and have some super cool Hollywood ape fun. Looking forward to that. Super cool fun fact. A couple of the spacesuits worn by the Chimponauts made their way a couple of years later into a little movie called Star Wars. Okay, I really need to get a little nerdy at the moment.
Really? That's something you felt the need to announce?
It's really odd if you think about it. The Cornelius character in the original Planet of the Apes did dig for ancient artifacts, but knew nothing about the origin of man, nothing about the history of how or why apes ended up evolving, nothing about the downfall of man, but in this film he knows all of that. He explains how a virus brought back from space killed all the dogs and the cats, so humans began taking apes into their homes, who became bigger and smarter. I mean, he knew about the bomb, that it was created by man and eventually destroyed the planet in the future, and I could never really quite figure out how Cornelius gained all of that unbelievable knowledge from the time the first movie ended and this movie started. Yeah, I know, continuity issues that probably nobody really noticed back in the day, even though people have attempted to figure this out. You want to drive yourself completely crazy? Go to a search engine and put in Planet of the Apes timeline, dive in, and get ready to literally lose your mind. I did think that the ending was not only extremely well done, but more than that, probably exactly what would have happened if talking apes arrived here on Earth from the future to begin with Zira and Cornelius essentially hunted down and assassinated. Really a very brutal ending, sad, really sad, and Dr. Hassline also biting the dust after thinking he did complete his mission by killing their child, which was born just a couple of days earlier, but of course the joke was on him, as Zira's child was previously swapped in the zoo with another chimpanzee baby, a very clever plot point to not only give the end of the film some hope, but more importantly, give 20th Century Fox a very good launching point into yet another Planet of the Apes movie sequel, but that's the story of another Apes video. Escape from the Planet of the Apes was released to theaters on May 26, 1971, with a budget of a little under $2 million, spending about 1 week as the #1 top-grossing film, and eventually pulled in about $12.3 million at the box office, and this is really interesting. Producer Arthur Jacobs was really quite aware of the disappointing financial returns for this film, and he was quoted as saying that he thought there were initially 3 reasons why. The first being that some people were really rather disappointed in the second film, Beneath. Secondly, the fact that it's not really a science fiction movie at all. I mean, it's basically a love story with a tragic ending, which he thought might have been a bit of a letdown for some of the kids who came to see a super cool science fiction movie with a bunch of apes running around with guns on horseback. And thirdly was the fact that the studio executives at 20th Century Fox took the attitude that this movie was pre-sold, meaning people are going to come see it anyway, so why should we spend a lot of money actually promoting it?
God, studio executives.
Now, if any of you guys happen to be as big of an Apes fan as I am, I've got to point you towards this awesome website called MANIA. These guys have been around forever and offer some of the coolest ape stuff you'll ever find. Museum displays, display busts, awesome ape masks and prosthetics, costumes and accessories, and really awesome, perfect replicas of your favorite apes' weapons. I wanted one my whole life, and I finally got one from these guys just this weekend. Yes, I bought it myself. Anyway, check these guys out at apemania.com, link in the description, and maybe you're into collecting ape stuff, but on a much smaller scale. Fantastic plastic models. These guys have literally got everything you could possibly imagine. I recently bought their Beneath the Planet of the Apes Alpha Omega bomb and mounted it on my own custom light-up base, not included with the bomb. Super cool. These guys have been in business since 2005, offering dozens of unique aircraft, spacecraft, and sci-fi kits from all eras, so definitely check these guys out as well. Link in the description. Escape from the Planet of the Apes was not only a beloved third entry into an incredible cinematic historical franchise, but more than that, continued the amazing legacy of those damn dirty talking apes, paving the way for other great and not so great movies in the Planet of the Apes franchise, including Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, the Planet of the Apes TV series, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War on the Planet of the Apes, and so many more. We could be here all day, but that, my friends, is the topic of another video. I really hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive all about Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and if you did, and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a bunch of new videos coming up really soon that I know you guys are just gonna dig.
And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always buy us a coffee. Link in the description.
And please feel free to stop back anytime as we together continue the conversation on movies, music, and monsters.
Movies, music, and monsters.